Now we're going to do section 8, which is inspired by the Queen Jellyfish earrings. And you may have noticed I don't normally start with a slip knot. I just kind of start crocheting. You can normally start with a slip knot if you want, but in this case, please don't. What I'm going to do is put the little crossover on my hook so that I have the yarn right now under my hook with the tail end of the yarn coming off the top, the working end coming off the bottom closer to me. I'm going to wrap the tail end around so that the tail end of the yarn is closer to the hook end of the hook, okay? Now I'm going to grab my yarn. I'm going to pinch that little crossover, but not really hold it too tight, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. This kind of gives me a little cheater, what are those called? Magic loop, okay? So you can see that is where I did not put a knot. If I pulled that tightly, it would actually become a knot, but I don't want to do that. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put 5 puff stitches inside this loop, and I'm going to do it over the loop and over the tail end. So you'll see what I mean here in a moment. For the puff stitch, we yarn over, insert the hook into this loop, yarn over, pull up a loop. We're going to repeat that 4 more times. Okay, so yarn over, insert into the loop, yarn over or into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. That was our second time. If we're repeating it 4 more times, it means we do it for a total of 5. So that was the second time. Yarn over, insert the hook into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. That's 3. Yarn over, insert the hook into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. That's 4. Yarn over, insert the hook into the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop. That's 5. If you counted, you would have 11 stitches on your hook right now. I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 11. It's important that the hook bit of your hook is facing down, so it's facing to here, so that when you're pulling through, you're not going to catch the hook end of the hook on the sides of any of these stitches. You want to pull it through everything, then chain 2. 1, 2, and there is our first puff stitch. We're going to make 4 more for a total of 5 puff stitches, and each time we're going over this ring and this yarn end. Okay, so let's make 4 more of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was my 5th puff stitch, and I chained 1, 2, and now what I can do is I can actually pull this tail, and when I pull the tail, it'll close that little opening. Okay, I do kind of have to pinch it to make it work, so sorry that I covered it, but there you go. When I pulled the tail, it closed the opening. Now I'm just going to slip stitch to the top of this first puff stitch, and I'm not really going to be all that concerned with exactly where that slip stitch is, just the top, okay? And there we have the top of our little tassel bit, the beginning of the top. Now we're going to do 2 more rows. So for row 2, we're going to chain 1, which is not counting as a stitch, and we're just going to put 2 single crochet into each of these little chain 2 spaces. So 1, 2, and there'll be a total of 10, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10. Then a slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet that we made. You'll notice what I've done here to get a different color is I'm now using the yarn from the outside of this yarn cake. One of the things you might want to do is, as you're going along with your entire pattern, you can stop and do parts. Whenever you have to cut the yarn, you can make one part of your tassel, and that way your tassels will be all sorts of different colors, which would be super fun if you're using one of these yarns that has different colors within it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do round 3 of our tassel top. We chain 1, which doesn't count as a stitch, and then single crochet in each single crochet around, which will be 10. 1, 2, 9, and 10, and then slip stitch to the top of the first single crochet made, and then you can cut your yarn. These are actually my paper scissors. And fasten off. Okay, and then I'm not going to weave in any ends or anything yet because I find that's a lot easier to do when I finish my tassel, and I can actually use the weaving of the ends to kind of sew things in tightly. So I'm going to put this to the side, and now I'm going to make the tassel-y bit of my tassel. Now I want to make a nice big long tassel, and I do have a really fancy tassel maker, but at this moment when I would like it, I can't seem to find it. So I'm going to just use something that's about 5 or 6 inches long to wrap around. So I'm starting off by putting a piece of my tie string across close to the top here, okay? Actually, I think I'll cheat. I'll just, bite it in there. There we go. Now, this is the yarn I'm going to use to wrap my tassel with, okay? So I want to wrap it 50 times. So here we have 1, and I want to do a total of 50. Okay, so there we have 50. Now, you could tie up here and cut down here, but those are like the hardest places, right? So this is what I kind of like to do with something like this, is I can go ahead and find a ruler. Okay, so this is exactly 6 inches. So what I'm going to do, half of 6 inches is 3 inches. And that is where I'm going to tie my end right in the middle here, okay? So I used my ruler, I found the center of this, and I'm going to tie my bundle there. Okay, and now I can turn it over, find the center again, and you see how easy it is to get my scissors underneath the center of this as opposed to the very end. So I find the center, and that's where I cut. Make sure you don't cut your ruler. You might be sad. There we go. And apparently I missed the part still attached to the yarn ball. There we go. And this yarn ball that I used, it was the end of my first skein of yarn when I made when I was making the shawl. I kept it so that I could use it as one of the colors for the this little guy, the tassel. All right, now you can use a yarn needle or whatever. I have a small crochet hook here. I'm just going to poke it through the center of my top of my jellyfish earring bit here. And I'm going to grab these 2 little tails and pull them through. Okay, and then I pull that all the way. There we go. Okay. Now, this gives me this really nice long tassel now that I pulled the tassel through here. Now, my yarn needles seem to all still be packed away. Oh well, life goes on because I just came back from vacation. But I am going to use this little embroidery needle. It will work, but just thread up the end from your top, from your tassel top, onto a yarn needle, and then what you want to do is just kind of go in and out, like over and under the little kind of posts towards the top of your stitches. Do that all the way around. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of go through the little loopy there, okay? And then what I'm going to do is pull that nice and tight. And that's really going to tighten up the top of my tassel. Okay, and then I'm going to make a little knot. And there we go, by just pushing my yarn through a tiny bit, my needle through a tiny bit, wrapping the yarn around like twice, and then pulling it all the way through the rest of the way. And then I'm just going to bury it, pull it all the way up to here, pull it kind of tight, and cut. And you can loosen it back up again. And then this was the piece that came out of the very top. You could have woven this one in already if you wanted to. I did not. So I'm going to just kind of do something with it now, because I definitely don't want that top to loosen, right? I don't want that little hole at the top to open up. So I'm just going to kind of go through a little bit here, and then make one of those little knots again where I catch a little piece, yarn over, wrap the yarn around like 2 or 3 times, make a little knot, and then bury it, pull it all the way up here, pull it tight, cut it, loosen things up. Okay, and now I have this tassel with no extra ends and this pretty little end, and you'll notice I didn't have to neaten up the end of my tassel. Now if you want like perfection, you might have to neaten up the end of your tassel, but because of the way I did it, I don't have to neaten up the end. I think this one right here might have been the piece that I started with, and it's not quite as long as the rest of them. So you might want to be careful about that, but it doesn't even really bother me. Even if you can see it, or that's fine. It doesn't bug me at all. So now all you have to do is take the section 7 of your shawl, and then you're going to tie your tassel on to that little chain 2 that we did in the very last row of section 7. So do that however you want. I might actually thread these up and wrap them around a couple times before I tie them, and then I'll pull them back through here and cut them. So here, why don't we actually go ahead and do that. I'm just going to wrap one of the ends around a couple times, not both of them, because I don't feel the need to have to keep on threading this tiny little needle with this yarn. So we're just going to use one end instead of both to wrap around and make pretend. Because this is a little bit of a pain. That's why you should always have the proper tools. Oh look, I did split it. Okay, I'm not even going to play with that end anymore because now it's a mess. So we'll try this end instead. Come on, I see you. You want to come through, I know you do. There we go. Alright, so now I got this guy through. So let's see, where did he start? Right there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and just take a chunk from the top of my tassel here. Okay, there we go. And then go around the top again, or through this little hole. And then do that one more time, go through a chunk of the top of the tassel. There we go. And now I'm going to tie. And now I will bury this one. And then, because I really don't want to have to deal with putting that on a needle again, I'm going to use this crochet hook. All right, so I just stuck the crochet hook through, and I'm going to use the crochet hook to bury this end carefully so that I don't pull the orange out as well. Okay. Pull that tight. Grab my gigantic overkill scissors. Okay, and then you can kind of give it all a little tug. There we go, to get everything where it needs to be. And I still have a couple ends over there to weave in, but you can see here is my fun little tassel. There you go. So then you want to repeat sections 7 and 8 on the other end, and you will be done with your shawl. You are probably going to want to block it, And then you can go ahead and wear it or gift it and show off your awesome little shawl. Ta-da!